A Reds legend could be returning to the fold very soon.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Reds. My name is Jeff Carr, and Steve Offenbaker will be along with me shortly. We are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans, and we've turned an addiction to this team into information for you as Locked On Reds. As part of the Locked On Podcast Network, we are talking about your Cincinnati Reds, your team, every single day. And Locked On Reds is for the Reds fan that knows what happened. They want to know why. We're going to talk about the big stories going on in Reds country. We're going to dive into some geeky stats and make them make sense, and get you set for a playoff run in 2025 all throughout this offseason. But I'm very glad that you're alongside me here today because we have a couple of updates from Arizona involving a couple of key Reds players. We're also going to discuss a little bit about Scott Boras, and the reason because he is the agent for Elly De La Cruz. And we've got a long discussion as to what a possible contract extension could look like, but why it's unlikely. That's coming up here in a few minutes. We want to start first, though, with the news, the reports coming out of Great American Ballpark that a former Reds legend could be returning. That's all coming up on today's Locked On Reds podcast that is brought to you by FanDuel. Get the FanDuel app today. Go to FanDuel.com, and with your first $5 winning bet, you can get $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel. And just a quick note, this is the replay from the Q&A portion. If you held on for the entire live show on Monday, this is where that's from. If not, a lot of great Reds talk coming your way.
Jonas asks, is there any chance we see Votto return in any capacity? Hitting coach, bench coach, color commentator. Jeff Frazier came right back in asking if we saw the MLB Network interview with Nick Krall. Yes, we did. We had this on the list. We were trying to save it to get to this point of the show, which is going to drop in the audio feed on Tuesday. So let's get into that because I found Nick Krall's comments on MLB Network very, very interesting. And I'll set it up just like this. Nick Krall gave a very vanilla interview on the MLB Network about the hiring of Terry Francona and how all that went down and answered the questions. No earth-shattering news about anything. But near the end, they asked Nick Krall about Joey Votto. And I found the question, first of all, I think the question was really out of, it's interesting to me that they even asked this question. And the question was, what's going on with Joey Votto? Right. Have you talked to Joey? Is Joey going to be around? And, obviously paraphrasing. And Nick Krall's answer was, we would love to have Joey Votto back. We would love to have Joey Votto as, a coach or a commentator. He did some broadcasting with us there when he was with the team still. And wait for it. Nick Krall says, I talked to his agent a couple weeks ago. Why, Nick, did you talk to his agent a couple weeks ago? Nick didn't say, but he didn't call Joey Votto's agent to be like, hey, how's Joey enjoying retirement? Just want to make sure he's okay. This was a, hey, we're rounding out a coaching staff. We're restructuring the broadcast booth because of the Bally Sports thing. And we were just wondering, would Joey Votto maybe want a job? That's how that conversation had to go, right?
And I don't think he brings that up if that conversation didn't go so well. I don't think Nick Krall tells MLB Network, yeah, by the way, we talked with his agent the other day, and he shot us down because Joey ain't interested in coming back to Cincinnati. No, he's not going to say that. Whatever the capacity is that they maybe got to, I think there's some mutual interest there. And Joey has said that before, that he would be intrigued to come back in some capacity. It's not going to be his hitting coach. They've already hired a guy. And it's a guy that Terry Francona knows very well, a guy that he's very comfortable working with. So it's not as if they hire him and then they're going to bring in Joey Votto and he's going to listen to Joey Votto over Chris Valaika. But could he be an assistant hitting coach? Could he do what Eric Davis and Barry Larkin had done?
Joey Votto, the director of veteran leadership, and let Joey coach whatever the hell he wants.
Have him be around.
Have him in the clubhouse and be able to pull guys aside and talk to them about whatever they're dealing with.
You know what, Steve? There were 3 different times this year where I had 3 completely different fry boxes. He could be the fry box continuity director. That way we know exactly how much meat we're getting, exactly how many fries are in the box. I think he would have that on point.
It's been a minute since you were able to work in a fry box reference. That's great. No, I think you're right. Nick Kroll doesn't bring that up unless there was at least some mutual interest in Joey Votto doing something. I would love to see Joey around. When we've talked about Joey Votto prior to this, David Bell was still the manager of this team. I know from folks inside the team that there was definitely a rift between Joey Votto and David Bell. There was, I don't want to say bad blood, but they were not the best of friends there at the end. Let's just call it like that. David Bell's gone now, and I think that opens the door. I think that makes it possible. I don't know that it's going to happen, but it is at least a possibility. And I would love to see Joey Votto back with this team some way, somehow, in a, not a player capacity, but any other way.
If you could pick, if you were giving him a role, what's the role you're giving him?
I really like that. I don't know what you would call it, but I like that idea of, the director of veteran leadership. Everyone keeps talking about this team needs a veteran presence to kind of help these guys. Who better than Joey Votto, who was just a player like yesterday, to come in and kind of help guide these guys? He's not going to be able to do it out on the field in the middle of an inning, but that's not ever who Joey Votto really was anyway. He was the guy in the clubhouse pulling guys aside and helping them with what he noticed and helping the players understand how to face this particular pitcher. That would be a great role for him.
You know what that sounds like? A bench coach. And you know why we haven't heard anything about Freddie Benavidez? Maybe they're talking to him.
Oh Lord,
about being the bench coach.
That would be. I'm on board with that. That would be absolutely amazing. Everything. It fits the Sandy
coach does everything. Yeah,
it fits the Sandy Alomar role, right? It's a guy that's very smart about what's going on in the field, that did it for a lot of years and did it at a really high level. That's Joey Votto.
And I have, I'll
take it.
And I don't know the inner workings of the machinations of the relationship departure between David Bell and Joey Votto, but I have a hard time believing that Joey Votto would be a hard person to work with. I feel like most people would find it easy to work with Joey Votto. And I also find it, most people would find it easy to work with Terry Francona. So that would just fit. Yeah. Cooper says it. Votto as a bench coach would be so unbelievably cool. That and think about it. It's not like Terry Francona gets ejected very often. It does not happen like it happened with David Bell. But you have the case where Terry Francona gets really mad at a call, and you have a really butthurt umpire that throws him out really quickly. Then Joey Votto is the guy who manages the Reds for the rest of that game. And then maybe a couple of years down the road, Terry Francona is like, you know what? I do want to retire for good. Baseball's been good to me, but now it's time for me to enjoy retirement. Joey Votto, manager.
Stranger things have happened, Jeff. I'm all in. I mean,
I love
there's
this.
lots of
Actually,
fun. There's lots of fun scenarios to project out there, but I did not like how Joey Votto was treated at the end.
No, I thought it was very.
I will
dismissive.
forever feel that the Reds really did him a disservice. They did the fans a disservice. They did the organization a disservice. They got it completely wrong all the way around. And this would be a way, not to fix it. It wouldn't fix it, but it's definitely a move in the right direction. And I'm on board. I don't care what he does if they bring him back. I would love for them to bring him back and have his smarts, his baseball acumen around. There is not very many people in baseball that are more baseball smart than Joey Votto. I would love to have that around this team in some way, shape, or form.
Well, if you could pick between two things, I'm going to give you a choice here. Between one or two things. And they involve Joey Votto and Elly De La Cruz. And one of these things would happen this offseason. I'd be interested to know your answer here, because I think that if the Reds are going to sign Elly De La Cruz, long term, like a contract. I'm not saying 10 years. It wouldn't be 10 years. But let's say they buy out the first 2 years of free agency. They got to do it this offseason. So if you could pick Joey Votto bench coach, Elly De La Cruz long-term contract.
Today's episode is brought to you by Hims. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to a variety of health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints, Viagra and Cialis, and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor's visits. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. Again, just visit hims.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
We are talking Cincinnati Reds baseball here today, every day, every week, every month, all year long, literally every day, giving you Reds content. Make sure that you subscribe to get at least 30 minutes of Reds talk in your feed every single day. All right, let's dive into this whole idea of Elly possibly getting a contract extension.
Well, the no-brainer is you sign Elly, but you're on something really strong in that water bottle there if you think that Elly De La Cruz is going to sign any deal. There is not an amount of money that the Reds could present. I don't care what the number is. I don't care what it is. There is no number that you can present to Scott Boras on behalf of Elly De La Cruz to get him to sign any type of extension with this team, because whatever number you give, it just sets the floor for Scott Boras to take it to free agency. They are not signing a deal. Scott Boras has all but said the words. He said it's never worked out for a player. You show me one player where it's worked out for a player. It's worked out for bad players. It's never worked out for a good player to sign an extension, blah, 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 blah. That was his very long-winded way of saying we are not signing an extension. So it's a pipe dream. I hate to be the bucket of water on the fire of extend Elly. He is not going to be extended, period. End of story, end of discussion, end of the rumor. It's not going to happen.
So what if this happens, though? Because this year he is pre-arbitration eligible. I think he's due some performance raises, so it's going to go up to like $800K or something like that. I think Spot Track was estimating that. Maybe through some performance bonuses next year, it jumps up a little bit more, but it's still going to be less than $1 million because he's pre-arbitration for the next 2 years. Then he hits arbitration in 2027. Yeah, 2027. But that's not going to be a huge jump. He's not going to go from making $900K to $7 million. It's going to go up to like 1.5, 2 million, something like that. Maybe 2 at most. Arbitration, it does not jump up by tens of millions of dollars every year until you get toward the end of arbitration. The reason that I say this is the Reds could offer a deal, and this is why this is the last year of it, where they say instead of $800K this next year, we'll give you $5 million. And instead of $900K, we'll give you $6 million or $7 million next year. And we escalate it up to where it would be, I don't know the exact number, but where it would be lucrative to him early and to pay him more early. Because, yeah, they're getting him at a super discounted rate for the next couple of years because he's going to be well above that in terms of how his performance provides value. But if you're going to buy out the first 2 years of free agency, you give him a front load, or not necessarily a front loaded deal, but you give him a lot more on the front end of that contract. You don't think that moves the needle at all?
No, I don't think Scott Boras,
because he's only going to make 1.6.
I don't.
The next 2 years.
Scott Boras is not going to give up 30 freaking seconds of Elly De La Cruz on the free agent market. It is not going to happen. It's zero. We talk about, percentages and chances. Zero. Zero. Stone
Not even greater than
cold
0, less than 1?
lock, zero. There is not a chance. And I mean, zero, Jeff. Not going to happen.
Because
absolutely not going to happen.
And the other part of this argument, my half-cocked idea, is that even if you buy out 2 years, and I'm just saying 2, I'm not saying sign him to 10 years. I'm saying buy 2 years of free agency. So that would mean instead of hitting the free agent market after the 2029 season, he hits it after the 2031 season. He's still 29 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still in his prime. He's not going to hit the free agent market twice in his prime. He's going to hit it once, because whoever signs him off the free agent market is going to give him like a 5-year deal or a 6-year, something like that. No less than 5 years, though. And then it'll be like 34, 35 when he hits the free agent market. But you could front load that deal and give him more money on the front end that he would already be making. He's going to make no more than like $3.5 million over the next 3 years combined. But you could say, we'll give you like $20 million over the next 3 years, and then add on a couple of more years of like $20 million per or $25 million per. I was just trying to figure this one out because I think that there's a chance. I think it's better than 0. I don't think it's good. But I think that there's a chance if you offer to give him more money than he would be making these first couple of years, because it is set in stone. He is not making $1 million next year. It's set in stone that he's not making $1 million in 2026.
It's more likely that the Cincinnati Reds offer me a contract than it is that Elly De La Cruz does any of these things that you're talking about. It's okay. That's how bad this idea is. It's not going to happen. There's 0% chance. It's a little different with Hunter Green. Pitchers get hurt. It was a little smarter to kind of lock in some of Hunter's money. There's no way. Just 0% chance. He's going to get paid so big when his arbitration numbers come up. It doesn't matter. There's no way. There's just no way. The comment section's going off, but someone was asking, oh, here it is. It's from Scott Campbell. He's like, if Scott Boras is so bad, then why have any players in the organization that have him as an agent? Well, under this model that's supposed to happen, and you guys get so attached to all of the players that come to Cincinnati, and by you guys, I mean me and Jeff also, that we're having a hard time embracing what the next part of this is. And that is, you got to start trading guys. And there's going to come a day.
Which you don't have to do that with Elly until like 2027.
No, but you eventually got to have to do it, because he's not going to sign an extension. And the only way you truly screw this up is you go the LA Anaheim of Tijuana Angels route of not doing anything, that like they did with Shohei Ohtani, which was criminal. They got nothing.
Nope. They did worse than that. They actually traded prospects his final year to get other players to try and make a run to the playoffs.
It was criminal. Absolutely criminal. You can't do that. So someday you're trading Elly, and that's just the way it's going to be. Lean into it now. Enjoy every single at bat that he's wearing a Cincinnati Reds uniform, and then enjoy all of the at bats and innings pitched of the haul that you're going to get for him. It's just the way it's going to work in Cincinnati, gang.
So, and to kind of give you just a little bit of a picture, that's why we put on this graphic that I keep hoarding here on the StreamYard, the trade window we put for every player. And I was wrong. It's not 2027. It's 2028 for Elly De La Cruz. Matt McClain the same year. Spencer Steer the same year. CES, Andrew Rabbit, Brandon Williamson. Those are all the further ones out. That's why we're thinking that if the Reds are going to give a contract extension this offseason, it's most likely going to be Tyler Stevenson, because if you don't extend him, then we're talking about 2025 opening up the trade window. They might not trade him 2025. They might wait till the offseason between 2025 and 2026. But 2026 is the last year under his current rookie deal that Tyler Stevenson is a Red. Same with Jonathan India, same with Jake Fraley. But I think those two guys need to get a little bit better before you really worry too much about them. But that's kind of this window when you look at the graphic that we have of just talking about these different guys and when they're going to become free agents and how that would look. But yeah, like you look at Elly by far, because he made his major league debut much younger than these other guys. He's only going to be 27 years old when he hits free agency. So even when you look to trade him in 2028 or 2029, you're going to get so much for him. Mm-hmm. And that's the reason that you consider something like that. The main thing, and there's going to be a group of people that no matter how much we tell them, how much we explain them, how this is going to work for the team and for the future, there's going to be a group of people that are just like, cheap old Reds, same old Reds, horrible idea, can't keep anybody. But this is how this works for a team that cannot, that just will refuse. And as much as we would love for this team to be owned by some people that just want to hand out blank checks to people, the Reds don't do that. And if that's not what they're going to do, then they've got to be smart about it. How does Scott Boras figure into all of this? Because yes, it seems unlikely, but why? We'll discuss that next. You can tackle the NFL action over on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything that you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game and you could check out all the latest stats, the view, the live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. And while you're there, you can also check out some baseball action like, futures, next year's World Series odds. The value right now on the Reds will never be better. 60-1 currently to win the 2025 World Series. Terry Francona says, hold my beer. Just saying. Might be good to get in now before the Reds shopping spree begins. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. If you cannot watch the show on YouTube, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting app. We're literally on all of them. That way you can take us wherever you go. You don't have to just watch us on YouTube. Subscribe today.
Kerry checks in and says Boras' record in 2023 was not that great. Players might get fed up with him. Kerry goes on to say players in 23 were left out to dry under Boras. Not a completely wrong observation. There was a lot of wonkiness there in the offseason. But let me ask you this, Kerry, and everybody in the chat here that agrees with that, and everybody listening that agrees with that. Did you ever doubt for a single solitary second that Shohei Ohtani was going to get paid and that Shohei Ohtani was going to get a contract? Did you ever doubt it? Did you ever think for a hot second that, maybe Shohei Ohtani goes into spring training without a deal? Did anybody ever think that? No. This is the same. We're not talking about, Jonathan India hitting the free agent market or Jonathan India looking for a deal. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a generational talent. Now, Elly doesn't pitch, but probably could. But still, it's the same kind of thing. When Elly De La Cruz hits the free agent market, when Elly De La Cruz becomes available, he is going to get a contract. He's not going to be sitting on his hands when pitchers and catchers report, still looking for a contract and a job. He's going to be signed. So the argument about Scott Boras, that's a separate argument for any other player, for any other deal. It doesn't apply to Elly De La Cruz.
But there's also, and to consider this as well, because it was well documented and reported about Scott Boras' clients really not getting what they were looking for last year. Consider this. According to Forbes, they know money. Forbes, the #1 agent in sports is Scott Boras.
Yes, he is.
His total contracts, according to Forbes, $3.8 billion. His commissions, $191 million. The #2 guy, who's a basketball guy, Jeff Schwartz. I don't know basketball agents or anything like that. #2 guy has half that in commissions. He is so good. He is twice as good as the #2 agent in all of sports. That includes football. That includes basketball, hockey, everything. So while there was damage done or whatever that might have been this last offseason, that's like saying that like Apple lost some off of its stock. It's still number one by a big margin. Scott Boras is still number one by a big margin.
I want to talk about this bit, but I don't want to talk about it today, but I'm going to bring it up just so it stays in my mind for later. Carrie says, but Ohtani is deferred. What happens when the Dodgers go bankrupt? I have a theory of what's going to happen with Shohei Ohtani when that deferred money comes up, and it involves Shohei Ohtani being a large piece owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's what's going to happen. They're going to pay him, but they're also going to give him a big chunk of the team in a negotiated settlement, because that money is going to cripple the Dodgers. It might not bankrupt them, but we don't know what the collective bargaining agreement is going to look like when that money becomes due. And the Dodgers are going to have some real problems. And it's a big piece of why I was so pissed off that they were allowed to do what they did. So we're going to come back to that, Carrie. And if they do go bankrupt, if they do file for bankruptcy, if that does happen, or if they get bailed out by Major League Baseball, which could also be a thing, we're going to have the biggest celebration podcast episode you have ever seen. It's going to be a Dodger Smack Talk Smackdown, because I come from a time when the Los Angeles Dodgers were a division rival of the Cincinnati Reds, and I would like to see them take it right on the chin for the things that they've done. So we're going to come back to that.
I think they're making far more than they're spending on this because they have him. I think they're making so much money. And by the time that the deferred bit comes up, they might have won 2 more World Series because.
Can you stop?
The Dodgers.
Can you just let me have this fantasy?
I'm just saying, like,
would you just shut it? Oh my God. All right, Jeff, let's get to a few more of these, because I can't even with the Dodgers right now, but
yeah, we got to get off that. Go listen to Locked On Dodgers for more Dodgers takes. We're just hating.
Chris says, with the new CBA, I can't see players taking huge deals right now. Players would take huge deals. I don't see the owners giving them, because the CBA that's coming, Chris, this is not the CBA where the players make it big. The CBA that's coming is going to be the CBA that the owners get after shutting baseball down for at least a year. That's the CBA that's coming. That's the CBA that has a salary cap. That's what's going to happen to baseball moving forward. And it's going to be painful, excruciating, painful how we get to that. And I don't even want to talk about that anymore.
Yeah, we got 2 more years. We got to really enjoy these next 2 years.
It's going to be bad. It's going to be super, super, super ugly. All right, guys, we got a few minutes. If you've got something that's pressing that you want to talk about, get it in the chat here. We'll try and get to it. I want to talk about CES for just a minute, Jeff, because he went to Arizona, and people have been asking about it, not only in the chat, but on Twitter X, and I've seen some messages in the comment section about what happened to CES. He went to Arizona. He was doing really well, and he disappeared. It's been gone. I reached out to a couple different sources. Nobody came back to me with, well, he had this thing. This was the problem. This was the injury. It's all the answers have been, the Reds are saying he's going to start swinging the bat again this week. I don't know what happened, and they didn't make an announcement. So was his wrist hurting him? Was he having discomfort? Probably that's the answer. Yeah. They didn't say that, but that's probably the answer.
The reporting from the Arizona Fall League is far less substantial than it is during spring training or the regular season. So we're probably not going to know exactly what went down with him until everybody shows up to Goodyear. But I have to imagine that, and this happened with Matt McClain, where, you know, he got scratched from the lineup. He didn't play for a couple of days, and we really started to worry like there was something there. But like, I think in McClain and in CES's cases, all they had to do was show up, play a bit, recover, and that's it. And I don't even think that they were going to play them on a regular schedule like they play the other guys out in the Arizona Fall League. So I don't necessarily go too crazy about what I think might be wrong or if there's something bigger at stake here, but I will definitely be keeping my ear to the ground whenever he gets to Goodyear in February.
click the like button before you leave. That really helps boost the show out to others. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. You know, a Reds fan that's not watching, bring them along, because we love talking Reds baseball with you, and we want to talk Reds baseball with them. We're now in the offseason, gang. Programming note, Wednesday, we're back at you live. We are going to do a 1:30 p.m., Jeff? Is that 1:30 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, another live show.
Another live show, and later on this week, we will be having a scouting conversation with a current Reds scout.
That's right.
Which I'm very excited about. That should be on Friday.
All right, gang, that's going to do it. Thanks so much for making Locked On Reds your first and second and however many listens you listen to us today. Thank you. Now head over, check out Sully at Locked On MLB. He's part of the Locked On Podcast Network. He is also your team every day, and he's got a great show covering national baseball. And if you haven't listened to Sully, you're kind of missing out. He's a lot of fun. Link to his show down in the show description of today's show. We're in the off season, gang. We're going to be with you just like we're with you every day during the season. We're going to keep you locked in and locked on Reds. We're going to keep you locked on Reds every single day.